Good morning, veterans, distinguished guests, members of the Cheshire community, fellow students, and Cheshire High School staff. My name is Kelsey Tehan, and I'm one of the Brave officers. It's my great honor to be here with all of you today as we celebrate Veterans Day. Today is a day of remembrance and gratitude. Throughout this nation's history, America's soldiers, sailors, airmen and women, Marines, and members of the Coast Guard have bravely answered to the call to defend our freedom and sacrificed so greatly to help ensure that our republic would endure. We can never express our appreciation enough, not to the more than 650,000 American service members who died in battle or the 1.4 million who were wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank the 25 million veterans still living today. To all the veterans in attendance this morning, we are so pleased that you could join us, and we thank you for your service. Before we begin, I would like to ask all guests to silence your electronic devices, if you haven't already. And now, I would like to introduce Katie Harper, another officer of Brave, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce the Cheshire High School Band to perform our national anthem. everyone, and thank you for joining us on this very special day. As we all know, Veterans Day is a time to honor all men and women who served in the military and put their lives on the line for our freedom. However, as an officer of Brave, I believe it is also important we all know the history of November 11th and why we celebrate Veterans Day at this time of year. Veterans Day originally began as Armistice Day on November 11th, 1919, the first anniversary of the end of World War I. Armistice Day was made a national holiday to honor all World War I veterans for their service. However, after World War II and the Korean War, it became apparent that we must honor all men and women who serve in our military for their service to our country. Armistice Day was officially changed to Veterans Day on June 1st, 1954, and it became a day to honor American veterans of all wars. I would also briefly like to mention the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Memorial Day honors service members who died in service to their country or as a result of their injuries incurred during battle. Veterans Day is not only a day to honor deceased veterans, but also to thank and honor living veterans who served in the military during wartime or peacetime. So on November 11th, take the time to thank any and all service members you see for their service to our country and dedication to protecting our freedom. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Kelsey Tehan to present the white table.
Hi everyone. You may have noticed a small table set up on the stage this morning. This table is known as America's White Table or the Fallen Man Table. It has become a tradition at our events as Brave continues to honor our nation's veterans. This table serves as a reminder of the soldiers who never made it home, whether they were prisoners of war or missing in action. Every object set at the table represents a different aspect of the soldier's difficulties. First, the table is round to symbolize the undying commitment and concern for finding our fallen and missing soldiers. The tablecloth on the table is white to symbol the soldier's pure motives when responding to the call of duty. A single red rose was placed in a vase as a reminder of the families and friends who continue to keep faith in finding these soldiers. The vase is tied with a red ribbon to show the continued memory of those who are no longer with us and the search for those who are still missing. The yellow candle represents the endless hope for a cheerful reunion with those yet accounted for and reflects our ongoing desire for their return. We are reminded of the bitter fate of those captured and missing by the lemon slice placed on the plate. That plate is sprinkled with salt to exemplify the tears shed by the missing and their families who continue to look for answers. The napkin is black as a reminder of the confinement, deprivation, and the brutal fate of these soldiers. The inverted glass stands to remind us of those who are not able to share this morning meal with us. And lastly, the chair is empty and tilted, and will remain empty and tilted until all of our missing are accounted for. So on this Veterans Day, please remember to take the time to appreciate those who have returned home safely and were able to be here with us today. But also the brave men and women who responded to the call of duty and gave the ultimate sacrifice to their country. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Michaela Arroyo, Brave Officer.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So my name is Michaela Arroyo, and I am one of the officers here for the Brave Club. So I grew up with military background in my family. My uncle is active today in the Navy, and going on 25 years. And my grandpa was in the Air Force for 20 years as an air traffic controller and served in the Korean and Vietnam War. For those of you who don't know, air traffic controllers are in the very tall towers at airports, and they organize routes that aircraft should follow and tell pilots which routes they should take. When I was told as a little girl, he had a pretty big job on his hands. Growing up, I always wanted to hear stories of what life was like serving in war, but he never wanted to talk about them. I learned later on the seriousness of war and the extent to which veterans are affected both physically and mentally. My grandpa always loved going to Veterans Day events at school. In elementary school, he loved seeing little kids waving flags and cheering for them as they walked through the halls. Freshman year, I had the honor of bringing my grandpa to his last Veterans Day event here at Cheshire High School. He couldn't really stand that well, and I vividly remember him sitting there and singing along to the national anthem. But I also remember him saying what a beautiful event it was and told me I should join the club. So I thought about it. Sophomore year came around and I ended up joining Brave. But also during that year, I lost my grandpa, my best friend. But I knew I had to keep helping and doing what I can for others just like I helped him. And I am now dedicated to representing Brave for our veterans and for my grandpa. The acronym BRAVE stands for Bringing Remembrance to All Veterans Everywhere. We recognize and honor our veterans, but also those who are currently served as an active role. They have all embraced the call of duty, whether they were drafted or by choice. They took the ultimate risk and put their lives on the line, and they fought for our freedom. Since I grew up with relatives in the military, I gained respect for any man or woman who has served. Whenever I see someone in uniform or wearing a hat that shows that they took part in the military, I thank them for their service. Brave shouldn't be the only place where veterans get recognized. We should all show extreme gratitude to those who deserve it. And our veterans definitely deserve our praise. So next time you come in contact with one, take the few seconds it takes to simply thank them for what they've done for us. Thank you. I would now like to introduce the Cheshire High School VIP Choir to perform Eternal Father, Strong to Save.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Hankey, and I am one of the officers of Brave here at CHS. Today, I would like to share with you some history about this country's great military service. Being that we are in the month of November right now, I wanted to focus on events that took place around this time. Tomorrow is November 12th and marks the 77th anniversary of the Naval Battle of Guadalcanal. It lasted 4 days and was a huge strategic victory for the United States. The Allies seized an airfield on August 7, 1942, when they first landed on Guadalcanal. The Japanese made multiple attempts to retake that airfield, but none were successful. In early November, the U.S. received intelligence that the Japanese had deployed a naval convoy with 7,000 infantry to retake that land. The U.S. immediately deployed their own naval and aerial forces to prevent the Japanese from reaching the airfield. 1,732 Americans were killed, including the only 2 U.S. Navy admirals to be killed in a surface engagement in the war. 7 destroyers, 2 light cruisers, and 36 aircraft were destroyed over the 4 days, the majority of which occurred during 2 nighttime attacks by the Japanese. The battle ended up being Japan's last attempt at retaking Guadalcanal and proved critical to their foothold in the Pacific. Another battle I will share with you is the Battle of Tarawa. It occurred in the Pacific Theater during World War II and was fought between November 20th and November 23rd in 1943. It took place at Tarawa Atoll and the Gilbert Islands and was part of Operation Galvanac, the U.S. invasion of the Gilberts. Nearly 6,400 Japanese, Koreans, and Americans died in the fighting, mostly on and around the small island of Bishio in the extreme southwest of Tarawa Atoll. The Battle of Tarawa was the first American offensive in the critical Central Pacific region. It was also the first time in the Pacific War that the United States had faced serious Japanese opposition to an amphibious landing. Previous landings met little or no initial resistance, but on Tarawa, the 4,500 Japanese defenders were well supplied, well prepared, and they fought almost to the last man, exacting a heavy toll on the Marine Corps. The U.S. lost over 1,000 Marines and 1,696 men in total. The men that weren't Marines killed on the land were killed in a ship that was sunk. My fellow club officers and our advisor, Mr. Galvin, thought it was important to share some history with everyone here today. We are fortunate enough to be in school to celebrate Veterans Day and one of the few districts that do. We knew this would be a good opportunity to educate on why we are here. Thank you to everyone who helped today, and thank you to all the veterans for your service. Now it is time for the presentation of the Armed Forces Salute to honor the contributions of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. We invite members of each respective branch to stand as they are able and be recognized for their service to our nation. Thank you.
On June 6, 1944, more than 160,000 Allied troops landed along a 50-mile stretch of heavy, fortified French coastline to fight Nazi Germany on the beaches of Normandy, France. General Dwight D. Eisenhower called the operation a crusade in which we will accept nothing less than full victory. More than 5,000 ships and 13,000 aircraft supported the D-Day invasion, and by day's end, the Allies gained a foothold in continental Europe. The cost in lives on D-Day was high. More than 9,000 Allied soldiers were killed or wounded, but their sacrifice allowed more than 100,000 soldiers to begin the slow, hard slog across Europe to defeat Adolf Hitler's crack troops. This past June was the 75th anniversary of D-Day, where we celebrated the men who fought to keep our country alive. These soldiers who fought so bravely will be remembered as the greatest generation. Today, we have 3 World War II veterans here with us. At this time, I will read their names of each and ask to stand if they are able. Mr. Jim Hart, age 94. Mr. Henry Skolarski, age 98. And Mr. Irv Daubert, age 99. We are so grateful that you could join us here this morning. We thank you for your dedication to our nation and the determination to fight for the principles upon which it was founded. We admire your selflessness, grace, and courage that you serve as an inspirational example to us all. Thank you. I would now like to bring Kelsey Tehan to the podium for some final remarks.
We would like to thank everyone who made it here this Veterans Day. We encourage all of you to take a second to think of the veterans in your life that you are thankful for. Without them, our country would not have become the land of the free and the home of the brave. Special thanks to the veterans who came here today. We appreciate your presence, and we thank you for your service to our nation. Thank you to Mike Salamini for the technical aspect of this, because I don't think any of us were able to do that. And to the custodial staff for setup and breakdown. It means a lot. Thank you to Dr. Gadd, Mr. Solon, Mr. Kimball, Mr. Galvin, and the Brave Club for making our annual service possible. Thank you, everyone, and have a great Veterans Day. You guys may now be dismissed to your period 6 class.